my number one competition is me. It is always you versus you. You have to work hard. Everybody in this room knows if it is worth something to you, you got to put in the effort. And I always like to say, it is the work we put in when nobody is watching that really matters. You versus you. You got to be the one to get up every morning, be disciplined, and put in the consistent daily hard work because that gains success. Because my old man taught me that right. Gotta work. Get your ass in the gym at work. How hard do I work? I work hard. You have an insane schedule. 4 o'clock in the morning, I wake up. 4:30, 4:45, I am doing some sort of cardio. It's still dark outside. I do this, and then I will have breakfast, and then I will go to the gym for about an hour, and then I will go to set like I am going to be the baddest mother walking. You got to be the hardest worker in the room, and do not let the opportunity out. What I have found is that when you take that kind of action and that kind of step of following your gut and your intuition, taking that step, whatever it is, the universe has a funny way of meeting you halfway. Realize there is more and think more. Think for more. You do not have to be just this man. The work ethic, the drive, that hunger to compete, it never goes away. The person I compete with most is just me. It is you versus you. I can trace back my work ethic to when we had a little efficiency apartment in Hawaii, and we were evicted out of there, couldn't pay the rent. The rent was $280 a month. We eventually got kicked out. When we got kicked out, I was 15 years old. I will never forget it. I was standing there at the door. There was the notice. In that moment, I saw my mom crying, and that kind of pain really impacted me. I thought then I want to do everything that I can to make sure we never get evicted like this again, and make sure that she is never this upset. Again, I didn't even know what that meant at 15 years old. It just meant I have to work. I have to work. I have to do something with my own two hands. This is the stuff that you can control. We control the controllables, as we say. The other part is a competitive nature that is in my DNA and it's in my blood, where I love the competition. I love to win, and I also love to learn. I don't say lose, I say I love to learn. So I would say it's a combination of that for me. The work ethic comes from I never want to be evicted again. The other side to that is a competitive nature, and that competitive nature never goes away. The thing that has worked for me is to remember the hard times. I would remember that, and it allows me then to be present in the moment and understand, holy, the stuff I have around me right now. This is a life that I dreamt of when I was a kid. For me, the drive just comes from wanting to do more. I've gotten really lucky and fortunate over the years to have accomplished what I've been able to accomplish. But again, the hunger doesn't go away. I like to say I got a full plate, but I could always make room for the stuff I love. When I wake up in the morning, I have got to be running towards the thing that I want to do and not walking towards it. Not, I really don't feel like doing this, or God, why did I? I got to be running to it, and I realized that if I'm able to do that, get up in the morning and run to it, then I'm in that place of joy and happiness. It's the grind that we love and sink our teeth into and just go and get after it because I've worked hard to get here. Whatever it is that you want to do, you've got to get after it. You've got to get after it. There's no substitute for hard work. Hard work always pays, because a lot of times you go down the road and you know there's the phrase, you have to walk by faith and not by sight. A lot of times you walk by faith, not sight nor experience, and you just don't know. When I first started my wrestling career, I got there in the World Wrestling Entertainment, and I had a meeting with Vince McMahon. And Vince says, okay, he said, what's important to you? And I said, well, what's important to me is learning the business, even though I grew up in professional wrestling. Still, there is so much to learn, and I want to be good. I want to be really good at what I do and put in the time and put in the work in a way. I mean this respectfully. I said I would like to do it on my own. I do not want to be handed anything or given anything just because my grandfather wrestled for Vince McMahon's dad in the 70s. My dad wrestled for Vince McMahon in the 80s. And I said, I mean that respectfully. I just feel like I want to do it on my own, but we all go through our own journey and process. So there is something I think that we all can tap into, that becomes our journey and our wiring. For me, you bring up my old man. My dad was a professional wrestler at a time when professional wrestling, I think, wasn't as globally renowned as it is today. My dad was a paycheck to paycheck kind of guy. And when I decided to get into professional wrestling, we had the biggest fight about it. Ultimately, he said, "Look, I am not too sure if you have anything to offer." I mean, it got to that level. Along the road of life, we always have these moments that are seminal moments where sometimes it's a loved one, like my old man, sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's a boss, and sometimes it's a stranger who says, "You can't do it. You're not good enough. Don't even try. Pack your stuff and go home." My back is up against this wall every day. It's against this wall, but it's up against this challenge because it's what I believe in. When my back is against this challenge, then there's nowhere to go but that way. That's it. Just because it's never been done doesn't mean it can't be done. Get your ass kicked, get back up, and you put the gloves back on and you swing away. When I got to Hollywood, I was coming out of the world of professional wrestling, WWE, and I was really determined, hopefully, to have a career that had longevity, and I was willing to put in the work and commit. What I realized at that time was there were a lot of naysayers and there was a lot of cynicism as I was getting into Hollywood. I get it. It was a little tricky because I was coming out of the world of professional wrestling. When I got there, a lot of people around me at that time who were part of my management team said, "Listen, if you really want to make it in Hollywood," and even those who weren't part of my team, now looking back, I could see the chess that they were trying to play back then. They said, "If you really want to make it in Hollywood, then you can't call yourself The Rock. You have to lose weight. Don't talk about wrestling. And you have to look and walk and talk and act like these guys. And these guys are the biggest stars in the world at that time. Johnny Depp, Will Smith, etc. If you do not know any better, you buy into that stuff like I bought into that back then. But then you start to realize something starts to eat at your about, well, this just does not feel right because I am not being authentic. I am not being myself. So finally I said, a few years later, I said, I cannot do this anymore. I have to be myself. I said, I would like to have the same career as these guys, only bigger and different. And I mean it respectfully. And they all looked at me like I had three heads. I am not these guys. I am not Johnny Depp. I am not a Will Smith. I am not a George Clooney, those guys who were big stars at that time. I am me, and the most important thing I could be is authentic. And if I at least fail, then I fail being myself. So I got to be me.